Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I have always opined on this particular platform that in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence, and that everything in politics is normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objective. Nothing in politics just happens for the sake of it. On Tuesday this week, Azimio One Kenya Alliance called for massive demonstrations in Nairobi and in the country. But something happened. The demonstrations did not gather the momentum they normally gather. And when they emerged finally, Raila Odinga did not show up on the streets of Nairobi. Why do you think Raila Odinga failed to show up on the streets of Nairobi on Tuesday? I did a comprehensive analysis about why Raila Odinga never showed up. And one of the reasons I gave you was that there was high possibility that Raila Odinga and William Ruto were already talking. And indeed, yesterday, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who is Raila Odinga's deputy, issued a statement. Let me just read for you the statement which Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka shared. This is what Kalonzo is saying. We in Azimio La Umoja One Kenya announce on a without prejudice basis that we are prepared to go back to the bipartisan talks with our opposite side in Kenya Kwanza and are prepared to stand down the demonstrations scheduled for tomorrow, which is today, 4th May 2023, provided that Kenya Kwanza recusses Honorable Adan Kenyan from the bipartisan committee and immediately announces his replacement on the said committee. This was the offer I made on Sunday at the Cathedral of Praise and Ministries International. All our other conditions remain the same. Now, if you paid very close attention to this statement, the first thing they are saying, they want Adan Kenyan to be removed from the committee. The number two, that his replacement must be announced before resuming. Then immediately, Kimani Ichung'wah issues a statement signed by, Kenya Kwanza issues a statement signed by Kimani Ichung'wah and Aaron Cheruiyot. And this is the statement. We welcome the statement by Azimio One Kenya Alliance on resumption of bipartisan talks. We appreciate the conciliatory route taken by our Azimio counterparts to engage in the talks and stand down the planned street demonstrations should Kenya Kwanza recast Elders Member of Parliament Adan Kenyan. We have always stated we are willing to bend backwards for the sake of the progress of the country, national unity, and stability of the nation. We have consulted with Mheshimiwa Kenyan and the coalition's top leadership, and Honorable Eden Walie Kenyan has graciously agreed in the greater interest of the country to recast himself from the bipartisan committee. So that already they've met the first condition. Then we have nominated Honorable Dida Raso, MP for Saku, to replace Honorable Adan Kenyan in the bipartisan talks. So basically, Azimio issued the two conditions which Kenya Kwanza met immediately. So it means Raila and Ruto met either through their emissaries, and they agreed that for us to resume the talks as Azimio, Adan Kenyan must leave and you must announce his replacement. Then he issues directive to his team and Aaron Cheruiyot and Kimani Ichung'wah, and they issue this statement. The two gentlemen, Aaron Cheruiyot and Kimani Ichung'wah, are actually some of the headliners. If they had not received instruction from Ruto, what do you think would have been Ichung'wah's response? So the talks have been now called off. So in this video, I want us to look at why and how William Ruto influenced Raila Odinga to call off the talks. To call off the demonstrations, sorry. Before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, I want you guys to take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. And for this particular channel, for this particular video, please just press that thumbs up button. That's the best way you can support the channel. And yesterday, I received a coffee from the people you are seeing their names on the screen there. I want to thank them so much for the coffee. You can also do the same using the numbers you are seeing on your screen. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. Now, let us get back to the main issue. Raila Odinga and Azimio yesterday called off the demonstrations. The truth of the matter is that Azimio supporters are disappointed. And for me, it was a bad idea for Raila Odinga to call off the demonstrations. In fact, the demonstrations on Tuesday ought not to have been allowed. Probably it was the one which should have been called off. So it failed. Then you organize another one on Thursday. Then you call it off. The effect is that, number one, the momentums which the demonstration had gathered are going to go down. So most of Azimio supporters will view Raila Odinga as if he's not serious with the demonstrations. Number two, if you talk to anybody in Azimio, they have their doubts about any meaningful talks with Kenya Kwanza. They believe that Ruto is just marking time with Raila Amolo Odinga. Then there's also this narrative that the police, under the command of Rigathi Gachagua, and the goons which were organized by Moses Kuria were able to contain Azimio. Because when Azimio read their statement through Martha Karua on Tuesday, they were like, they didn't show up on the screen because the police had planned so many bad things, and that the Kenya Kwanza regime had also organized goons. So it will give credence and that narrative that the police finally contained Azimio. And number three, majority of people who have been supporting these demonstrations will now view Raila Odinga and Azimio as a team that lacks focus. Because for you to achieve certain things, you must set a goal and focus in it. What was the goal? Why would you call demonstrations today? Call it off. Call it today, call it off. So because of those, Raila Odinga will have to figure out how he's going to reinvent himself. Although I'm told he's a king of reinvention, but why do you think these demonstrations were called off? The truth of the matter is that I see William Ruto's hands in this. And I also see Raila Odinga under a lot of pressure to do the same. And that's why Rigathi Gachagua woke up very early in the morning to go and monitor from his screens how his people were going to deal with Raila Odinga, not knowing that Raila and Ruto were actually talking. That explains why Moses Kuria went ahead, organized his goons to go and burn vehicles here and there, while in real sense, Raila and Ruto were already talking, and they had agreed that, okay, for Raila, you have organized this thing, go ahead. For me, as the commander-in-chief, I'm going to issue a directive so that the police will not have the water bowsers outside there. What is going to happen is that we are going to have the police following you. So your team of Okanga and Gaucho will enjoy police escort. But why do you think the demonstrations were called off? Number one, Raila Odinga and his team realized William Ruto's scheme. And William Ruto's scheme was actually winning at the international stage. William Ruto had created a narrative internationally. Remember the other day he met with the Mo Ibrahim, and in his strategy, he created the impression that he was ready for the talks and that he has done everything for the talks. But the only person who is not keen on the talks was Raila Amolo Odinga. He was very clear that there was no basis for Raila Odinga to go to the streets, while all these issues could be canvassed on a table. And indeed, he was justified because already there were a team which was talking. So Raila Odinga was being seen internationally as the problem. And that's a trap which Raila Odinga was now trying to avoid by calling off these demonstrations. Remember, we had the Prime Minister of Japan in the country. Mo Ibrahim was in the country. On that particular Sunday, for those who followed politics, Raila Odinga never attended any church function with his team. So they were talking. The UN Secretary General was in the country, still in the country. I've talked of the Prime Minister of Japan, the UN Secretary General in the country. We are talking of the German Chancellor in the country. And all these people meeting Ruto. And of course, they are asking him, what's happening? He is able to explain. So because of that, Raila Odinga had to call off the demonstrations. Of course, William Ruto was also interested in these demonstrations being called off, because how would the country's image be portrayed with the Secretary General of the UN here, the Prime Minister of Japan here, you are talking of the German Vice Chancellor here in the streets of Nairobi, then all over tear gas. Number two, Raila Odinga, in my view, was also under immense pressure to accept the office of the official opposition. Why? You know, elections in the country were conducted, whether rigged or not. Chebukati announced the results, whether fake or true. Supreme Court made their ruling. So in the international community, elections in the country were conducted in a free, fair, transparent manner and following the laid down process. But because William Ruto was their project and they've realized that Ruto is not serious, it's not a serious president, they want to have a serious opposition to this government. So they're facilitating the creation of the office of the office of the opposition leader. So that office of the opposition leader, what it's going to do, in my view, which is significant, is that it's going to put this government in check. And it's going to be funded by taxpayers' money. So for those who follow politics, already a motion is being prepared to be pushed through parliament. Whether it's going to culminate into BBI, I don't know. Because remember how William Ruto used to tell us how handshake was about creating positions. This one is going to be created. So they were like, how can you expect a sitting president to vacate office for you to take over, even if the servers are going to prove? So we are going to allow you to have an office of the of the opposition leader. And that's the minimum demands the international community have placed on the table for Raila Odinga. And they've also told Ruto that on this you are not joking. You are going to create that office. And that's exactly what is happening. And that's what led to the cancellation of these demonstrations. Number three, Raila Odinga also did not want to fall for Kenya Kwanza trap. Because as Raila Odinga was placing the demand that, okay, we have three demands. Cost of living, we are going to talk about. The issue, cost of living, IBC commission, which William Ruto is actually was willing to, and is still willing to, and then the server, which they are not willing to, by the way. I don't know whether it will now be discussed. Yeah. Then they are now saying, apart from that, we are not meeting until Canaan is removed. So Kenya Kwanza makes an announcement that we are withdrawing Canaan. Because as Azimio said, we are not going back to the talks until Canaan is removed. And if it's not removed, we are going to the street. So on Saturday or on Sunday, Ruto announced that Canaan will not be part of the team. Then you still go ahead with the demonstrations. What message do you think is happening? Is you are relaying? One of your demands you've placed has been met. Yeah, then you go ahead and say, okay, we want to withdraw Kenyan, and you must announce his replacement immediately. This guy goes ahead and they announce that replacement immediately. What do you think is happening? So basically, the simple thing is Kenya Kwanza were trying to lay a trap for Raila Odinga. So as Kenyans can see that what do they really want? And lastly, again, the international community still wants the country, Kenya, to be stable. You know, Kenya is a strategic partner of almost all the international communities, especially in Africa. It is. The US have interest, the UK has interest, China, Japan. There is no way these guys would want this country not to move forward. So they are keen on the country moving forward. Then 5 months after the elections, then you come. Because remember, the US ambassador stated how Kenya is one of the best democracies and the rest. Then 5 months later, you come and you issue demands about a server, about an election which had been concluded. So the international community will not allow that. And that is exactly what is happening. I don't know what you think. Thank you guys, and may you have a good day. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.